massive bit of tourism for the southeast of England, with first ever pier built in the early 1800s to my right, spanning at 445 feet in length, and Deal Castle to my left, being built in 1539 by Henry VIII. We will be diving in to the bustling history of Deal Town. Built by the order of King Henry VIII, it is one of the finest Tudor artillery castles in England and among the earliest and most elaborate of a chain of coastal forts. In 1539, Henry VIII's preparation for a war included a huge construction programme of a new artillery force on the southeast coast of England. 3 castles were to protect the vulnerable beaches around Deal and the Downs and a poor naval offshore anchorage. These castles were a response to an invasion threat that resulted from Henry VIII's foreign policy, particularly his involvement in the struggle between Charles V.
Deal Castle, one of 3 main castles built by Henry VIII in 1559 to 1540. Absolutely spectacular. The beginning of 3 main Royal Navy ports began Deal's main bit of history. Absolutely fantastic. This massive project by Henry VIII from 1559 to 1540 took 1,400 men from all across to build this giant structure in the shape of this Tudor rose, the house ritual of the Tudor family, a foundation of the Tudor families, where Anne of Cleves would have stayed with Henry VIII. Not only was it to go to become one of the big bases for artillery in World War I and World War II. It's a big, big place for British history, British defence systems. It was the Royal Navy port. Only today then you have it destroyed and then become the first pier, first place for fishing. It was where duty-free came from. It's where so many bases of foundation of history and English knowledge has come from. Deal Castle. So it's absolutely brilliant.
In 1940, a German bomber hit the captain's quarters on Deal Castle, leaving it to be renovated only 5 years later and then opened to the public 5 years after that. It is now under the UK's heritage laws and is then available to anyone to see, and had over 25,000 visitors in 2008. Sir John Rennie was responsible for the construction of London Bridge. He was then assigned to build the 445 feet in length pier, for only to be brought down in 1857, as it was an eyesore for the locals and for the public. It was brought down by a sudden gale. The pier was commissioned to be built in 1861. It was built in 1863. The first column had structural integrity and its blueprint put into the first steel column. However, in 1940, the 23rd of January, the ship Nora struck the side and destroyed the structure. Deal Pier was a huge tourist attraction for people in and around Deal, as it was a fully steel structure over 1,100 feet long. However, in 1940, a Dutch vessel called the Nora hit a magnetic mine in the sea and ended up crashing into the broad side of the pier, taking down the main structure. It was left there until 1940 due to many attempts of the Royal Engineers. The Royal Engineers then blew up the rest of the pier, leaving it unmarked for Churchill to then make a military outpost where the entrance to the pier now stands. The pier was then opened to the locals in 1957 after it was rebuilt. It was then used for fishing competitions and general fishing purposes, and then later on had a T-shaped cafe built at the end of it.
The annual children's fishing competition. Not for the last rose of summer, that's all cod. For the famous herring and a half, but simply for the honour and glory of dropping a line and getting a reply. And there's a gorge of buns thrown in. It's better than fishing for tiddlers with a pin anyway. And what do you think, boys? A mere girl lands the first fish. She is Pat Knight and only 10, and you call yourselves fishermen.
And we do get a lot of local fishermen, and a lot of fishermen. I think somebody came down from Ipswich today, and whilst I've been working on here, which has only been in the last 5 or 6 months, a lot of people from North Kent and a lot of people from London, and they actually sort of keep it as quite a tradition to try and come down every 2 or 3 weeks. And obviously it's weather dependent. Today there's about 30 or 40 fishermen on. When we had the Beast of the East, when was that, 2-3 months ago, quite rightly so, that it was bitterly cold on here. I've lived in Siberia and it was like Siberia, and there was only 2 or 3 fishermen on here.
Thank you for joining me on this adventure through Deal's most famous landmarks, the pier and castle, getting an in-depth look on how they impact the tourism in Deal and how they have a big impact in English history. Thank you for watching.